Hi, friends. Welcome to Life of Riley's April webinar, Systems Change and Collaboration to Improve Animal Welfare. My name is Chetana Mirle, and I am the Program Director for Life of Riley. For those of you who don't know us that well, Life of Riley is the animal welfare initiative of Springpoint Partners, which is a social impact organization that takes a collaborative approach to creating positive change within our communities. If you look on Life of Riley's website where we have our statement of values, you'll find that we list collaboration as our very first value, followed by openness and inclusivity. Our website also has a more detailed statement on our collaborative approach to animal welfare, at the end of which we commit to creating and supporting platforms that foster a culture of trust, listening, and relationship building. Over the past few years, in line with these commitments and values, the Life of Riley community has grown to encompass both stakeholders and animal advocacy groups. Well, over the past few years, in line with our commitments and our values around collaboration, the Life of Riley community has grown to encompass both stakeholders and animal advocacy groups, as well as the pet industry, in government, in academia, human service providers, as well as veterinary clinics and animal shelters. But as we look across the animal welfare landscape, especially when it comes to issues like dog breeding, what do we see? We see a lot of stakeholders investing significant resources in passing legislation that other groups of stakeholders are investing significant resources in blocking. We see animal shelter directors, veterinarians, and staff carrying the grief of not being able to find homes for all of the animals they have pledged to protect simply because there are too many dogs and cats entering their shelter. And we see breeders who don't feel seen because they really are trying to give their dogs the highest standard of care, but they are still being spoken of as puppy millers and publicly attacked by people who haven't even visited their facilities to see what a great job they're doing or how much love they shower on their dogs. We see differences in our core values and beliefs around the human-animal relationship, impacting our ability to communicate with each other. And we see larger societal issues from the changing structure of agriculture in the United States to economic and other social inequities impacting animal welfare. So is collaboration actually even possible in this very polarized world we're all living in right now, let alone within animal welfare? Last year, I read this book called Collaborating with the Enemy, Working with People You Don't Agree with, Don't Like, and Don't Trust by Adam Kahane. It was a book that made me feel like maybe it is possible. And it started to show me how it might be possible. So I was excited to learn that Mr. Kahane, the author of that book, had an entire institute called Reos Partners that teaches these principles of collaboration and even helps diverse groups of stakeholders practice them. So I am thrilled to introduce you to Gerardo Marquez from Reos Partners, who will present to us today. Reos Partners has worked with diverse stakeholders with disparate, conflicting views and interests on a range of really contentious issues from land reform in South Africa to educational reform in Brazil. Gerardo himself has applied a systemic change lens along with technical expertise to support collaborations in the energy, environment, and innovation sectors. Hopefully, this presentation will help us think about how we might apply the approaches he shares to our own lives, including our work to address complex animal welfare challenges. After Gerardo's presentation, we will have some opportunity for Q&A. During the Q&A session, feel free to raise your virtual hand and we will call on you to ask your question. Or if you're feeling shy, you can put your question in the anonymous Q&A box and someone will ask it for you. If we have time after the Q&A, we'll have some breakout groups and some time for reflection. I just want to mention that while we are recording the presentation, we are not going to record the Q&A or any reflection, so feel free to speak openly when it's your time to speak. But for now, I'm going to pass it on to our presenter for today. Gerardo, we are so grateful to you for joining us today to share your approach to collaboration. I am very happily going to pass this over to you now so you can show us the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaitana, and good afternoon, everyone. I am really excited to be here with you all. My name is Gerardo Marquez, and I work at Reos Partners. And what we do, we work with people and across the world, and we help these people work together across differences in order to achieve system change. We do this work in all areas of human endeavor where there is a need for people to collaborate, areas such as energy, health, education, climate, indigenous rights, peace and democracy, justice, among others. In our work, we are very privileged to work with change makers and help them get unstuck on the very complex challenges that they are facing. And based on this work, we have learned a number of things about collaboration. And as Chaitana was noting, my mentor and colleague Adam Kahane has written this book, and today I'm going to be sharing some insights from that book, as well as other items that have come from our lived experience. We are practitioners. This work that you are going to be hearing from about today is not theories, is based on practical application and real life application of these collaborative examples. So when we think about collaboration, it is something that it is widely understood as something that is necessary when dealing with other people. And when you look for collaboration on the internet, you Google that, then you will see images like this. You'll see people who are often diverse, they look happy, they are smiling, and they seem to be very productive. So that's a notion that we have of collaboration as something where there is a clear goal and we are able to advance our work. And that is a notion of collaboration, but collaboration also can be understood differently. There are different connotations about it. So the image that you see on the right is two French women who are being paraded in a French town, and these two women, and this is in World War II, these two women are Nazi collaborators. And this is another understanding of collaboration that still exists up to this day. We have this association that when we are working with people that are adversaries or groups that we oppose, that people often can label us as collaborators, having this negative implication. And collaboration is something that we believe that we always need to do. But the good news and important news here is that you don't need to collaborate on everything. It is very helpful to distinguish when you need to collaborate and when you need to be doing something else. There are other options. So if you are, for instance, able to change a situation and you can do this unilaterally, then you do. And that is forcing. You are imposing your will on others to achieve an end. And this is another option to collaboration. And people who exercise forcing, they believe that this is the best choice. And therefore, they are entitled to do it for the benefit of the group. And if you are unable to change the situation and you are still able to adapt to it, then you remain on that situation, even if it is not particularly good for you, you live with it. So for instance, this could look like staying on a marriage, even if you are unhappy. And if you are unable to change the situation and you cannot accept this situation, then you cannot live with it, then you exit. And this option could look like, for instance, quitting your job, leaving a relationship, getting divorced. So there are options to collaboration. And if you decide to collaborate, to work with other people to achieve goal, you often will be thinking of what we at Rios call conventional collaboration. And in conventional collaboration, you have certain characteristics, such as focusing on a primary goal for a group and doing this in a harmonious way. You are also able to agree on what the problem that you are trying to solve is, and you also can agree on a solution. And what you do to be able to move people forward is that you direct them on what they need to be doing so that you achieve your goal. And this is something that works well for simple challenges and works well, for instance, within organizations. It is very effective and is something that we all do. So for instance, a classical example of this would be construction project. If you are building a bridge, then all of these elements would be there. But for us, with the people and the stakeholders we work with, this is not the reality. So what we do at Rios, we support what we call stretch collaboration. And this is the kind of partnership that we require at this time and place in the world. We are inundated by very complex challenges, and we have created new words to describe these challenges, words such as polycrisis. So stretch collaboration is a way of collaborating that has three primary portions that we call stretches. And why do we call these stretches? Because these are often unfamiliar and uncomfortable and require you to actually stretch, to leave your zone of comfort and do something that feels unfamiliar, but that if you do it, will help you move forward. So our conversation today is I'm sharing these stretches, and after sharing these stretches, I'm going to share some examples of collaboration, stretch collaboration that we have seen in our work. Stretch is embracing conflict and connection. And as I was noting, in conventional collaboration, we have one primary goal, and we focus on harmony. And this is not very common when we're dealing with complex situations, because if every person will have a different goal, so there is not a common goal, and often stakeholders will be in some sort of tension, conflict, or they will be outright enemies in this situation. So this stretch, what we are asked to do is to embrace both the conflict and the connection. We often just want to focus on connection because that feels good and it is okay, as noted, for simple challenges. But when we are in these more complex situations, we need to also embrace and recognize that conflict is an inherent part of working with other humans and that we need to work through disagreements. We are invited to see conflict in a way that is more constructive, see conflict as a creative tension, normalize it, and one of the important things is here that this stretch requires that we alternate between two polarities, between engaging and asserting. When we are engaging, we are connecting, we are aiming to solve something. And when we are asserting, we're also aiming to solve something, but we are standing for what we believe that is true, for what we consider important, and we take the necessary actions for this. And in simple challenges where you understand what the issue is, then you jump into problem solving. But for complex challenges, we understand that before we jump into action, we need to spend time creating a common understanding of what the issue is, what the goal is here. So in order to do this, we need to communicate with each other. And here is a framework that I found very helpful to do this. And this framework is the four ways of talking and listening. And the main idea here is that a core technology of collaboration is how we talk and how we listen. So in this framework, there are four ways, and I'll describe them. So the first one is downloading. And in downloading, you are sharing what you already know, and you are just doing this without that much openness. So the way that you talk, you are certain about what you are sharing, and the person who is listening, they are projecting, they are often not really listening, and they are also often waiting for the other person to stop talking so that they can go and talk and they make their points. So in this this way of talking and listening, we often, when we are inviting people to do an exercise about it, we invite them to start their conversations with "the truth is," and then you go ahead and say "the truth is," and then you download on people. So that's the first way of talking and listening, and it has a time and place. This downloading, and the second way of talking and listening is debating. And in debating, your goal is to win rather than to understand. You want to win an argument, and you want to demonstrate that you are correct. Your perspective is the correct one. And here, the way that you are often talking is you are in a debate, you are confronting, and you're trying to make sure that your point is the right one. And when you are listening, you are judging. You are just evaluating whether what the other person is saying is true. It has some portion of truth. We invite people when we do exercises to start sentences with "in my opinion," and then you start talking. The third way of talking and listening, moving to the upper quadrant, is dialoguing. And in dialoguing, what you want to do is you are listening to understand. In this type of talking and listening, you are doing a self-reflection, and you often start with "in my experience," and then you go ahead. And the person who is listening with curiosity and empathy. They are listening because they want to understand. And the fourth and final way of talking and listening is presencing. In presencing, you are now in a way of communicating that often feels connecting beyond words. This is more rare, and this is something that you may have experienced when you are with a group and you feel in sync. You are connected, and somehow the best ideas are just coming from all together, not from just one individual, but there is a collective support, so the ideas are rising from the middle of the room. And so these are the four ways of talking and listening. And we find this framework helpful because if, as a group, you understand that each of these ways of talking and listening has a function, a purpose, and a time and place, then you are able to distinguish what is needed in the situation that you have at hand. As noted, downloading is super important. It's something that right now I am doing, is something that often happens in schools. And if you are in an emergency, you want to hear what needs to be done. You are not going to have a debate or dialoguing. You just want to know what is needed and then go and do it. So all of these are necessary. And talking is what often gets the most attention, but it is actually listening that is the power move. It is the way that we learn and we take in what we take in, how do we apply our curiosity and our empathy to allow us to get new information and hopefully to change our minds to better possibilities, change our decisions to better possibilities. And one thing that we invite people to do here is this notion of suspending. And in suspending, what we all come with a number of situations when we're in conversation with other people. We may be in full disagreement with somebody, or we may be having other issues in our mind. So we invite people to suspend, to literally take whatever else that is distracting you, put it aside for a moment so that you are able to do your best work at that moment. So the invitation here is to ask yourself, what do I need to do? What do I need to suspend to do my best work? And one important item here also to note is that when you are in downloading and debating, as you can see at the bottom of the image, what you are doing is that you are in the existing reality. You are reenacting the what is currently happening. And when you move into dialoguing and presencing, then you are opening the possibility for new realities. So this is helpful to know when we want to create new solutions, when we want to move forward with a difficult issue, then it requires that you are in dialoguing and presencing, that you move from those two lower quadrants to be able to create new possibilities. So that's the first stretch. The second stretch is experimenting our way forward. And in this stretch, we see that the way that this refers to the way that we advance our work. And in conventional collaboration, you are able to agree on the problem and the solution. And in more complex situations, that is not possible. People simply do not agree what the problem is. And what for me may be the problem, for you is just okay. And if we cannot agree on the problem, then it is even more difficult to agree on a solution, particularly on a single solution that often just benefits the person who has the most power in the room, the most influence in the situation. So we need to experiment our way forward. The first thing that we invite people to do for this stretch is just to abandon the illusion that in order to solve a problem, we are able to plan something and then we just go and execute. This is good again for things such as building a bridge, building a house, doing something internal to an organization, and a strategy, a plan. But in more complex challenges, this rarely works. So what we do here, and it's important to note, is that when we are in situations of ambiguity, where the outcomes are unknown, most of us fall into a planning mindset. And we go back to what is familiar and what has been tried and tested, even if that is no longer working. So this is unhelpful because it increases your chances of failure, because you are spending all of your time thinking of strategies instead of trying things out, trying what may actually work, trying, experimenting, learning, figuring out what failed, what succeeded, and then focusing on what is working. So in this stretch, we are inviting people to move from having just one right answer to experiment instead with creating a range of promising ideas. And this is short. What these invite us to do is like moving from just planning to say, oh, look, we have to feel our way forward. We have to try things out to see what can work and really investigate what is going to be the action that is going to be a leverage point, an action that is actually going to move us closer to a solution. And in our work, we there are discipline approaches to experimentation, and we teach those on our work, on our processes. But the spirit of this is, again, that we just need to try things out. And you also don't need to agree on what you are going to experiment on. The key point here is that different people have different perspectives on what the solution is, and that is good. So you send them to experiment to find potential solutions, and you come back and say, hey, what did you learn? What are we able to collectively learn? What worked, what didn't? What new insights have you gained that help us move closer to solving our issue? So that is the second stretch. The third stretch is stepping into the game. And in this stretch, this is how we participate in our situation. We direct people to change what they need to be doing. So in our work, we regularly walk into rooms full of people who have a complex issue. And in those rooms, everybody is thinking, if only these people in this room did what I believe needs to be done, the issue will be solved. And the next person thinks exactly the same, and the next one thinks exactly the same. And you can quickly see that the math doesn't add up. This is also something that happens where we believe that we don't need to change anything, that the other people are the ones who need to change. So in a stretch collaboration, the key move is that you have to recognize that the only thing that you have agency to change is yourself. And this stretch invites us to reimagine this quote. You often hear it. If you are not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. And yeah, this quote is helpful and also misses an important point, which is that if you are not part of the problem, you can't be part of the solution. You can argue that you can solve the problem, but that would be through forcing. That wouldn't be collaborating. So in this stretch, we are invited to really look at not the others, but at ourselves, and then start looking at this idea of I cannot change what others are doing. That is really a waste of time and a big source of frustration and conflict. So if you move from that to instead asking yourself, what can I change? What it is that I can do differently that would allow me to see new possibilities, something that allow me to get unstuck, something that breaks the cycle in which we are, that enable us to do even small progress, but if we are now moving forward, then when you do this, you are in control. You have this feels super uncomfortable, but it's something that is a very, very powerful move when we are able to shift from what others need to be doing to what I should be doing and what am I doing to contribute to the current situation, either positively or negatively. Most people think of themselves as I am in this situation, I am contributing only positively. And they may be unaware of how they may be doing the opposite. So that's the invitation in this stretch. And those are the three stretches of collaboration that we use in our work. So now I want to share three examples of how this looks like in real life. So first example is coming from a recent work that we are currently doing in Hawaii. And in Hawaii, we are working with the Hawaii Executive Collaborative, which is a group of community leaders who want to shape a better future for Hawaii. And this group of people, these community leaders, are bringing diverse stakeholders to tackle the complex and long-standing challenges that are facing the islands of Hawaii. And they are doing this through an initiative called Rediscovering Hawaii's Soul. In this image, you can see some of the issues that people are talking about, such as how do we keep Hawaiians in Hawaii? A lot of our youth is leaving because they do not see opportunities. We're also experiencing a lot of inequality. We have a number of ecological issues and so forth. What I want to share with you here is that recently, in January, earlier this year, we we've been working with these groups, and these groups are at a point that they have organized themselves into what they call in Hawaiian hui, which is just the Hawaiian word for a community initiative. And these groups are working in diverse topics, and one of these groups is looking at the military and the community. So that's the military and community hui. And what they want to do, they want to transform the historically difficult and very conflictive relationship that exists between the US military and the local communities in Hawaii. And in this particular gathering that we had in January, people were doing an accelerator, which is an initiative where you are finding it's a fast paced action oriented process that is designed for groups to prototype, experiment, and find solutions to issues or potential solutions for the issues that they are seeing, new things to try out. And in this specific gathering, this military and community group was presenting their plan of action, what they were hoping to do to continue moving this forward. And in this gathering, there was this highly respected, very influential Native Hawaiian elder. And this elder, at some point, and after some reflection, chose to speak. And the elder was noting and is a person, this elder is a person who was very opposed to the military presence or the US military presence in the islands. And this elder noted that it is for this work to be moving forward that the Native community must understand why the military is here. And equally important, the military must understand the history of the land and what matters deeply to Native Hawaiians. This person chose to speak and said the following, and I'm quoting this person as it was said. I am realizing I cannot be against the military forever, and even though my native Hawaiian community may hate me or dislike me for it, I realize that what I need to do to contribute to Hawaii's soul is to work together and be in support of the military and community hui to ensure that this work goes forward and better tell the stories of Native Hawaiians in any possible way. People in my community may not understand this initially, but working together is the only way we're going to be able to do this. So, this is a moment where somebody who has had decades of a position decides to do something differently, to try something that definitely may be at odds with the community that they are part of, but they understand that in order to actually get unstuck, this needed to happen. So this is an example that we just saw a couple months ago. the next example I want to share with you is about this organization we've been doing work with called Possible Mexicos. And this is a group of community leaders who they themselves organized and were looking for ways to address the three issues that they see as key issues that exist in Mexico, which are the what they call three I's, which are illegality, insecurity, and inequity. And this group of people, they are very diverse. They have people from all over the country, and these people have often very contrary positions, some of them publicly conflicting positions, and a few other tensions. So I want to share two things with you. The first is just if you look at the image on the right, you will see these two people is not a particularly great photograph. And these two people, the person on the left is a former guerrilla member and an activist. The person on the right is a high-ranking army officer in the military. And these are natural enemies, and in the work that they've been doing together, they came to a point where they were able to talk to each other. So we sent them into a pair walk, and we are very lucky to capture this image. And what is happening in this image, the person on the left, the former guerrilla member, is telling the army officer, the last time I was in the presence of the military, I was being tortured in a room. And now I am talking to you. You and I are figuring out how we can be together so that we address the issues that we are collectively facing. So that is a moment. And the second element that I wanted to share with you about this work is that this group, as noted, has a lot of tensions, and they still don't necessarily agree with each other or with each other positions, but they have been able to work together, and they themselves labeled each other or their group as a living example of collaboration. And they together have been able to do very significant things. And this is an effort that is multi-year. They continue to be together and supporting each other in different modalities. And it's a really powerful example that it is possible to work with others that we don't agree with and we may never agree with. And the third example is this work that we did a few years ago, working on the issue of drugs in this continent, from Canada to Chile. And the idea here is to figure out, or the objective of this project was to work on figuring out how we can address this very complex issue in this continent. There are 46 countries participated in this effort, and the interesting thing here is that the governments in this continent, in this region, they have been implementing one single strategy for 40, 50 years, and that strategy is the war on drugs. There was no other alternative, no other possibility. And this issue, of course, has not been solved. There is a lot of, and there's very dire consequences to this issue: addiction, criminality, incarceration, corruption, and of course, violence. And just want to emphasize, this is something happened a few years ago. So this is prior to the fentanyl crisis that is currently plaguing our communities. So this group of people came together to figure out how they could work and move this issue forward. And we were lucky to be invited to be part of this effort. And we brought a new way of working with people. These processes were these type of initiatives happen, they are highly structured and bureaucratic, and they usually just have one outcome. In this work, we brought these leaders, but we also brought activists. We brought people who were experiencing these issues from different perspectives. And quickly, there were two camps. There were the mostly government officials who saw this as a security issue. And they saw that the only possibility that existed to continue solving this issue was outlawing the issue. And this position has been going on for decades. And the key item here was that this was the only discussable strategy, the only option. There were no other options. And the other camp, people who were reformers, they saw other ways of doing it. They saw things such as decriminalization, they saw things such as harm reduction. And through working together, they were able to put together a set of scenarios that provided more than one option for this issue. And this created new policy possibilities. The breakthrough here is that this group of people put in a government document new possibilities that were not discussable. They put the undiscussable as possible, and this really allowed things to be unlocked and for different governments to understand what else is possible to be able to solve this issue, to unlock new possibilities. So with that, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to open for questions.
Thank you, Gerardo, for so thoughtfully sharing these approaches with us and for inspiring us with the examples you shared.